Hello again. I am Chris Hughes with CarolinaPreps.com and welcome to Carolina Preps TV. This week, the coaching staffs of the Shrine Bowl of the Carolinas was announced, and I had a chance to travel across North Carolina to meet with each Shrine Bowl assistant coach and the head coach, Nelson Smith of Garner. So take a few minutes and sit back and watch the interviews that I conducted with each of the assistant coaches and head coach, Nelson Smith. I'm here at Garner High School with head football coach Nelson Smith, recently selected to be the head football coach for the Shrine Bowl in 2006. Coach Smith, obviously the Shrine Bowl is a terrific honor in the coaching profession. Just give me your thoughts on being selected to this game.
Well, it is definitely a great honor, and I'm thrilled to have the opportunity to do it. The Shriners, they do such a great job with the hospital, and it's a great group of guys, and it's just like you said, it's a great honor for me, and I'm definitely looking forward to it.
Obviously, as being the head coach, it means you were once an assistant coach, so you have a little bit more of an idea. I mean, you know what goes on with the hospital, working with the Shriners, and maybe picking players and stuff. How can you build upon that previous success and that previous experience to help you now as the head coach?
Well, I was fortunate enough to work with Coach Emery that year, 2006, and the combines. That's a great help because you get to evaluate the kids. You see them in person, so it's a experience where you get a chance to go out and watch kids, and they're gonna go out and give it their best effort, and then you myself and the assistant coaches will have a chance to sit down and evaluate, and it's a process. We want to get the very best kids, and we got some good talent in North Carolina this year, so it's going to be a job, but it's one that I know assistant coaches and myself are looking forward to.
Right. And tell me a little bit about, you mentioned the combines and picking players. Obviously, you've been a coach in North Carolina for over 30 years, 32 years. So you know how the Shrine Bowl worked in previous years. Now, just tell me how much the combines work or help you as a coach in picking the players. I know it used to be word of mouth from coaches and reading newspaper clippings, and coaches would send film in. But how greatly has these combines improved the selection process?
Well, you get a chance to see them. You get to see them run, lift weights, and do some agility work. But at the same time, you get a chance to meet the kids and find out what kind of character they have. And you definitely want kids with great character. And, that's a big plus with the combines. You get to see them in person. It's not watching them on tape.
Right, and you mentioned your coaching staff that's been selected this week. A very veteran staff. You've got some coaches that's been head coaches for 30 plus years. Have you had a chance to meet with those guys? Form any thing moving forward as far as responsibilities?
Well, I got a chance to meet several of them up at the Football Coaches Association meeting in the early part of February. So good group of guys, very experienced group of guys that work. They've had some great teams in the state. And as far as we're sitting right now, we're communicating by telephone and by email. But we got a meeting on March 17th down in South Carolina, so we'll get together down there hopefully and you start ironing some things out. But we're early in the process, but like you said, good group of guys with a lot of experience. So I feel very fortunate to be able to work with them.
Right. And maybe just wrapping up before we get out of here, just a little bit about your career. You've been at Garner here for 29 years. Very successful program, a few state championship appearances, a championship in '87. You've been the head coach now for 12. Maybe just give me a little background on yourself, maybe where you went to college, and just a little bit about your coaching career.
Well, I went to college at East Carolina and had the opportunity to play for Coach Dye, a great man. And then came out and went down to St. Paul's and worked with Hal Stewart for 2 years. And then left there and went to Northern Nash and worked a year with Buddy Green. And then Hal got the job here back in 1983, and he offered me a chance to come and work with him again. Hal's a great guy. He was a head coach at Shrine Bowl one time himself. So, I'm leaning on him some for guidance. But, the staff here at Garner, our staff's been together, I guess, probably 10, 12 years, give or take a coach here and there. So, we've been very fortunate here at Garner. We've had some great players and great kids, both in the classroom and on the football field. So, Great place to work, great place to live here in Garner, and I'm proud to be the head coach.
Absolutely. And like I said, the program's one of the top programs in the state, really going back 20, 30 plus years. Seems like you're always winning 10, 11, 12 plus games every season. I know this isn't Shrine Bowl related, but I mean, how is it that you guys have been able to put that kind of success and just that track record and do it over and over again? I mean, I think that speaks very highly of yourself and the staff here.
Well, back in '83 when we got going, I think we went 2-8, and then we went 4-6. But ever since then, we've been fortunate enough to have a winning season. But I think a lot's got to do with tradition. These kids around here, they like to work. They love the game of football. And once again, I speak well of the community. It's a great place to work because they love their athletics. So, you got to give the kids and the assistant coaches all kinds of credit because what they do, and they really love the program. They love the sport, and they buy into it. And like I said, tradition, going back when Hal and myself and the other guys first came here, it's got a lot to do with it, and it's a great place to be.
Well, thanks again. Once again, congratulations on being selected the head coach, and thanks for your time today, Coach.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. For Carolina Preps, I'm Chris Hughes. I'm here with Russell Stone, the head coach at Douglas Byrd High School in Fayetteville, recently selected as the Shrine Bowl coach for the 76th Shrine Bowl. Just tell me how it feels. It's been a long time, 33 years as a head coach, to finally make it to this level. One of the peaks, I think, of your profession. Obviously, a great accomplishment.
Tremendous honor, and I'm really happy. I am going to get a chance. After being in it this long and not getting an opportunity, you feel like, well, maybe that might pass you by. It's a great game. It's the oldest one in the United States. It's something, everybody in North Carolina's been following since you could walk or go to a high school game. So I'm really thrilled that I do get a chance.
Have you let's take a step back and maybe just talk about your career. For anyone, you played quarterback, I believe, at Roland High School back in the early 1970s. You went on to go to the University of North Carolina. What part of your life, or what brought you to the coaching profession?
I've just always loved athletics. I grew up on a farm, and it was 24/7 hunting and tobacco, and for some reason that just didn't appeal to me. So I got into sports at about 9 years old, and just really got into the facts and the stats and everything. Just turned into kind of a little junkie about gathering information. And I think, though, like a lot of other people, the reason I'm in coaching is because I was no longer good enough to play, and found that out at Carolina very quickly. But my experience on the farm, I had 10 or 12 people in my group to work since I've been 13 in a truck to drive. I know that sounds illegal, but that's the way we roll down in Robeson County. And so I probably learned everything I needed to know then about coaching. But for me, I just love athletics. I love them all. I love baseball, basketball, and football. I am a big three guy, being down here from the Deep South. We don't know too much about some of the so-called minor sports. None of them are minor in their effort. I want to make that clear. But just something I loved as a kid. And I had a great high school coach named Joe Twitty who put a lot of confidence in me and gave me a lot of responsibility as far as being a team leader and taking care of business really as a 10th grader up through my senior year in high school. It was a small enough school where I was really a big fish in a very small pond.
Right. Tell us one thing about you that maybe a lot of people don't realize is that you've never had the opportunity of being an assistant coach. You've been a head coach every year since you graduated college. Kind of tell us how that came about and how you've maintained such a long tenure as being a head coach.
Well, luck's probably got a lot to do with it, and the grace of God, but basically I graduated school and I was on the farm working with Dad, and the aforementioned fella, Joe Twitty, had gotten to be principal at my home high school. And he called me and he's fishing for you. I'm 24 years old, and he said, I want you to be head football, head basketball, head baseball, and athletic director at Roland High School. And I went, what? So, and then I said, Coach, why? He said, well, it's a small school, Russ, and we have so many people coming and going. I'd like some stability for our kids, and I feel like you'll stick with me. And I stayed with him, and I might even be there, but in 1986, he had a massive heart attack and passed away from it. at that time, my son was starting school, and my wife and I were trying to get going, and just looked like the thing to do was take some opportunities. And she was a great soprano, and the people in Lumberton wanted her to sing at their church, so I came along in the deal as a football coach and got my first opportunity at 4A. And that was after 7 years. And I coached all three sports for my first two, and then we consolidated rolling into South Robinson. I was the first coach they ever had there in football, something I'm still proud of. That's my home school. That's the school that I grew up in. It's in the district where I grew up, and so it means a lot to me to have been the first one there, and I'm happy at the way they've carried on. And I coached baseball for 15 years and was lucky enough to win a state championship in '86 at South Robinson. But basically, Chris, the reason I'm in this is because those kids walked out of that tobacco field and came to football practice and worked for me and got us in the playoffs every year and gave me a chance to go up the ladder. So I'm really grateful to those young men down there. I've coached a couple of their sons now. That's been quite a thrill. In fact, I have one here now. Philip Lewis, his father Tyrone, walked up and he said, "You remember me?" And for some reason I did, and he played for me the first year I ever coached in 1979. So there are a lot of thrills, but I love doing this. I don't think God's given me the ability to do anything else, so I really am at a loss. People ask you all the time, well, you don't retire, and I really enjoy the coaching. Now, the school business gets cumbersome, but as far as coaching goes, it keeps you young and keeps you looking forward to every day.
Right. Now, the Shrine Bowl, obviously the premier All-Star game in the Carolinas. You've also had a chance to be an assistant coach in the East-West All-Star game. Is there anything in your experience dating back to that game that you think you can bring with you to the Shrine Bowl, whether dealing with players just for that short amount of time or maybe even this player selection?
Well, I think the big fear for all of us as Shrine Bowl coaches, first of all, is choosing the team. Because, you're never going to make everybody happy, and you'll have some very close friends who want you to take a great look at their player. And our responsibility now is to do the very best we can for the state of North Carolina and our football against South Carolina, who has always felt that they were a superior football state. So all of us in the old Tar Heel State take that very seriously. But also, I think just the brevity of how long you have to prepare your team. You're going to meet them in a week later play. So I'm glad I've had the opportunity. I was with Ron Green from Shelby Burns and Rod White from Swain County and Mark Little, and we had a wonderful time. And what I found out about all-star games and all-star teams, it doesn't really matter what level you're coaching on or how great the players. They're all the same. They need somebody to support them and try to give them confidence and prepare them.
All right. Any final thoughts before we sign off of here?
Well, I'd just like to thank Carolina Preps for taking the time to come down to Fayetteville and talk to us about this and recognizing our program. I'm doing this as the coach at Douglas Byrd High School. I'm very proud to try to carry on the tradition of Coach Bob Paroli that he set such a high standard for, and we're working hard every day to stay there. But I really just appreciate the spotlight that you've shown on our program here for a few minutes. So thank you very much.
Absolutely. My pleasure. For Carolina Preps, this is Chris Hughes. Hey, I'm here with Coach Dave Grant here at Williams High School in Burlington, recently selected to be an assistant coach for the Shrine Bowl of the Carolinas. Coach Grant, congratulations on the selection, and just tell me your feelings on being selected.
Well, I tell you, I was very humbled to be chosen, along beside the list of coaches that were chosen. Some big names in there that I don't personally know, but obviously know of them. So to be put beside them is definitely an honor, and looking forward to it.
Right, and in most cases, coach selected for the Shrine Bowl is normally a head coach, and to be an assistant coach, I think that even increases the honor, because it's one thing. A lot of times people know the head coach and they know the name, but to be selected by peers of your coach, people of your own ranks, I think that's got to be. I think it's got to really make you feel a little bit better.
Oh, certainly, and that's in many ways what surprised me when I got the phone call. I was in no way expecting it, and when I got the phone call, I was, being an assistant coach probably did add a whole lot to it.
Right, and here at Williams, you're a defensive coach. Are you the coordinator?
Yes, sir, defensive coordinator, and also involved with the secondary.
Okay, well, tell us a little bit about your background. How many years you've been coaching? Maybe what high school you went to, what college, and just tell us a little bit about your background.
Actually, played here at Williams High School. This is where I started under Coach Pete Stout, and back in the 70s and early 80s, and went on to Appalachian State University. I wrestled in college. I was not a football player, but immediately returned home to Williams after graduation and started my career coaching under Sam Story in 1986, 87, and have been here ever since. So started off, coaching defensive line, just the defensive ends only, then went linebackers, worked my way into the secondary, which is probably where I'm most comfortable in at home, and became the coordinator early 2000s, and been here ever since.
Well, and you just mentioned two guys, obviously two legends in this state, Shrine Bowl coaches of their own right, Coach Stout and Coach Story. Tell us a little bit, maybe something that you learned from those guys, and maybe something that you've picked up from either of them that's maybe you've carried along in your coaching career.
Pete Stout, probably organization. He might have been one of the most organized coaches I've been around, and I've seen a few other than the ones I've obviously been under, but he was just meticulous, wanted to dot the I's kind of guy. Very, very calm demeanor. But I think that's a lot how I was coached. In some ways, that's how I try to coach. I try to emulate some of those things. Coach Story, very passionate, very fiery. Team concept, love, all those things he built up into his program. And I tried to borrow some of those things as well. There's no one single way to get it done. They were both successful. Somewhat different in many ways, but they definitely knew how to get the job done. So I tried to borrow and pick the good things that they did and implement them into what we're doing here.
Right. And obviously playing in North Carolina, you grew up in the state, so obviously you know all about the Shrine Bowl's tradition, being a North Carolina guy. Being a part of this game now, and obviously the main goal is to beat South Carolina. Just maybe give us some thoughts on just the prestige or maybe growing up, what if you ever imagined being on this stage or being at this game, what it's going to be like?
Well, it's funny because my first memories were my senior year. We were fortunate. My best friend was chosen to be a running back. His name was Joe Malsby, and that was the first Shrine Bowl that I attended. That was in Charlotte. And then obviously, as I became a coach, you find out what it really means to be a Shrine Bowl player. At that time, in the late 70s, I knew it was a big deal, but I didn't know how big of a deal it was. And then I did not get to attend a whole lot of games through the years because I coached wrestling for 20-some years, and we were usually, at a wrestling tournament or something that weekend. But I got to go to the game where Coach Story was the head coach, and I really saw then and there, wow, this is big. And I knew it was big, but being a part of it and seeing it and the tradition and, that's what I think makes it as big of an honor as it is the tradition, the longstanding respect that goes with the game and the week prior to it.
Right. And maybe in closing, obviously you're representing Williams High School, a graduate, knowing the tradition around the school. We've already mentioned Coach Stout, Coach Story, and some of the long line of players that have come through this school and participated in this game and went to collegiate and above. Maybe just a little bit of thoughts on what it means to not only go for yourself, but to represent this high school.
Well, obviously it means a lot. You feel like you're carrying not just you, because it's not me that got here. I mean, I guess my name's been put out there because of the kind of players that we've had that have been under us, the kind of coaches from Coach Stout to Coach Story and obviously Coach Green now on the staff. They're why Williams has had success. They're why I've had some success, and I think they're the reason why my name was out there to begin with. So obviously I feel like you're carrying a little bit of their weight, but their support with you as we head down to Spartanburg.
All right. Well, congratulations once again. I know it's an honor, and we'll be keeping up with the coaches throughout the year as you guys go through the combine process and start picking a team and all, and preparing to take on the team next December. But again, congrats.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. For Carolina Preps, I'm Chris Hughes. We're here with East Lincoln coach Mike Bias, recently selected to the Shrine Bowl. Coach, congratulations on the selection. And just tell us, obviously, you're profession as a coach. It's one of the peaks of the profession. A great honor to go against South Carolina and represent the state in the Shrine Bowl. Just give us your thoughts on this selection.
Well, most definitely a great honor and a privilege to represent our state and the other coaches in the state. You know, we want to do a good job for everybody.
Right, and let's just normally coaches obviously it's a veteran staff. Most of the guys have been a head coach for going on well over a decade. Tell us a little bit about your background, where you started coaching, and maybe even tell us where you went to high school, and just maybe a little bit about yourself.
Right. Well, I'm an old West Virginia boy, but I've been down here in North Carolina for the last 25 years. And I started in Raleigh, and so I was excited when they named the staff, and Nelson Smith from Garner is our head coach. So, you know, he asked us what we wanted to coach. I said, whatever we can do to help you coach. He's such a good guy, and we used to coach against him when he was at Garner and I was at Athens Drive there in Raleigh.
Okay. And I know that you have been a coach at the East-West game. Just kind of thinking forward to the Shrine Bowl, picking players, the combines and stuff that you've got to look forward to over the spring. Is there anything that you can take from your selection on the East-West game back in 2005 that you can maybe use for this process?
Well, that's always, I think, the most difficult part is finding the best talent in the state. And you know, at some point you have to pick somebody, and there's always a little second guessing that goes on with that. But you know, all we can do, those folks that have been Shrine Bowl and East-West coaches before, they understand that that's a difficult part of the process, and that we'll do the best we can, and we'll get a lot of input. I mean, there'll be a lot of folks help us. You know, I've already called a couple of the colleges, and I plan to try to call all the different D1, 1AA schools in the area, because you know, their livelihood depends on knowing where the best players in the state are. So.
Correct. And you bring up college coaches. That's a little bit of an interesting dynamic, because speaking with Coach Barnes, that was the head coach of the Shrine Bowl last year, he said that they almost took it into his approach at picking players was almost as a college recruiter, and it's almost you're going out there recruiting the best talent. So I guess in the way you evaluate kids and evaluate film would probably be much like a college coach.
Oh, yes, sir, most definitely. I mean, I think this is, you know, all high school coaches would like to be able to go out and recruit sometimes when they're missing a particular player on their team that they need to fill a hole in. But you know, in this case, we can go out and recruit, and it's the only time in your career, and if you're coaching the East-West game or the Shrine Bowl, that you're legally allowed to go out and recruit kids. So you know, I look forward to it. I think it'll be, and one of the things you know, from the East-West game that I really take from it is the relationships you develop with the other coaches. And I think I look forward to that. It's just getting to know the other coaches and developing a friendship there that lasts far beyond the game.
Correct. And you mentioned representing the other coaches in the state, and also you're representing this high school, East Lincoln. You've been here quite a few years now. You've already been to a state championship game. You've had an incredible run of success. What does it mean just from this community aspect to represent this school?
Well, and you know, it's the same thing you tell your kids. You know, you want to represent yourself well, you want to represent your family well, and you want to represent your institution well. In this case, our school, East Lincoln High School. Great.
And any final thoughts here closing? Maybe tell us a little bit about your background, maybe what pushed you into the coaching profession. Obviously, it's a very rewarding field, something I've done myself, and it's obviously maybe not the highest paying field, but it's definitely one of those noble professions that you get to shape kids' lives and kind of push guys on the right path for their own futures.
And that's a key. I mean, I think if you do this, you want to do it for the right reasons. I mean, it's all I've ever done. You know, since I could walk, it's all I've ever done, either play ball or coach ball. So, you know, when you can go do it for a living, there's a lot worse things out there you could do.
You said it best. I mean, absolutely correct. Well, thanks, Coach, again. Congratulations on selection for the game, and we look forward to seeing you at the game and over the spring with combines and selection.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
For Carolina Preps, I'm Chris Hughes. I'm here at Hendersonville High School with Coach B.J. Lauder. Coach Lauder, recently selected to be an assistant coach for the Shrine Bowl of the Carolinas. First off, congratulations on that selection. I know it's definitely an honor, especially with your profession and all. It's one of the peaks that I think you can be chosen for. So congratulations, and maybe just give me your thoughts on being selected as an assistant coach for the Shrine Bowl.
Well, first of all, it was very humbling. Second of all, it caught me off guard because I know they usually announce the assistants down at the clinic in the winter clinic, and which I wasn't. I was at a club volleyball tournament, so I didn't think twice about it. And Lindley Ivy had called me Wednesday, and I saw his name on the note, and I know from selecting players that he's called me before. So when I saw that and the time of the year, I knew I was pretty excited. So it's humbling.
Absolutely, and obviously you been in North Carolina. You've been coaching here for well over 20 years, and you know a lot about what the Shrine Bowl stands for. Obviously, the hospital, the kids, and also representing North Carolina. And when you take on South Carolina, maybe just your feelings and thoughts on the game itself.
Well, it's the premier bowl game for high schools in the United States. I think it's very prestigious. The things they do for the children, the events the players go through, I think it's going to be eye-opening for a lot of those as well as myself. And I'm just looking forward to making some lifelong friends with some of the coaches.
Right. Now, speaking of some of the coaches, do you obviously Coach Bias at East Lincoln, he was a coach in this area. I know you've had a relationship with him. What's maybe building on camaraderie and relationships with coaches, what's it feel? Obviously, coaches sometimes select they don't select the staff, but obviously coaches' input and relationships, to be honored by your peers and to be able to serve with some of those guys like that has to be just an honorable experience.
Oh, absolutely. I was on the West All-Star staff in '08, and I still talk to some of those coaches on a weekly basis. So that was the biggest thing for me is I really gained some friends with some knowledge, and I can call, and they don't know the opponents that I'm playing, and I can get help. They don't mind sharing their secrets with me. So, yeah, and Coach Bias used to be with us in the Smoky Mountain Conference, just a top-notch coach. And Coach Snow, I got to know him a little bit, took one of his kids in the East-West game when he was at Watauga. So it's going to be fun, I think. I'm looking so forward to it.
Absolutely. And you kind of stole one of my next questions. I was going to ask about being in other All-Star games. I knew that you had been a coach on the East-West game. What do you think you can take from that week being away, new players, an All-Star type game? Do you think you can take anything from that experience and bring it to the Shrine Bowl itself?
Just realizing that the kids are All-Stars. When I came into that other game, I had to rethink everything after one day of practice because I'm sitting there, thinking of some of the drills I do with offensive linemen, which I did offensive linemen in that game, and just realizing they already know how to play. They're All-Stars. Let's have fun, learn the scheme, and just keep them healthy and safe and full speed.
Right. Another daunting task that a lot of Shrine Bowl coaches get hit with after the joy of being selected sets in is actually picking a team. I mean, the number one focus is to beat South Carolina, to pick the best players you can pick. And I've spoke to some previous Shrine Bowl coaches who said, it's almost like college recruiting. I mean, you're out talking to coaches, looking at game film, scouting kids. How tough of a task do you think that will be?
It's going to be very tough, and we're going to be busy. I know the Shrine Bowl combines have helped immensely. You get to actually put a face with a name beforehand, and you can talk to them. You can kind of tell about their character a little bit. That's the big thing, but it's going to be hard because there's so many great players, and I mean, you got to be one of the top 2 or 3 at your position in the entire state, all divisions. That's tough. That's tough.
Right. And maybe just in closing, Coach, tell us a little bit about your background. I know you've been at Hendersonville here as the head coach now for 15 years. Maybe tell us a little bit about where you went to high school, where you went to college, and just a little bit about your background.
Well, I went to high school right here.
Okay.
I played on some of those good teams with Sam Gash and Eric Gash. In fact, Eric coaches my linebackers now. I went to Mars Hill College on a grant and aid and played football there. Felton Stevens, Steve Patton, and just had a good time. And I was all set to go to Chapman High School in Spartanburg out of college, and my principal called and said, "Old Coach Jones retired. Would you like a job at Hendersonville High School?" And I thought I'd be here 3 or 4 years, and I'm 21 years later, I'm still standing right here. So I love every minute of it.
Right. Maybe one final question before we close. How many players, or have you had any players that have went on to play in the Shrine Bowl? Have you ever been a part of it just from sending a kid there?
Since I've been here, we've sent 3. Tyler Elkins, who was an All-American at App, John Paul Kimbrough, who played corner at Duke, and then we had Jamie Hatton, who's at Marshall right now as a tight end. So we've had 3 kids, and I'd go watch practice. I've been to the banquet. What a top-notch event.
Absolutely. And we'll just be, in closing, we'll be keeping up with you. We will be following the coaches throughout the combine selection process. So we'll keep up with your progress at the combine. So we'll keep checking in with you guys. But just all in all, congratulations, Coach.
Well, thank you very much.
All right, thanks. For Carolina Preps, I'm Chris Hughes. I'm here at Davie County High School with head football coach Doug Illing. Coach Illing has just been selected as an assistant coach for the 76th Shrine Bowl of the Carolinas. Coach Illing, congratulations on terrific honor. Obviously, this game is one of the pinnacles of any coaching profession, especially North and South Carolina. Just maybe give me your thoughts on the selection process, or just the fact that you've been announced as a coach.
Well, I'm tremendously honored and humbled by the selection, and very appreciative of the opportunity to represent our community, our high school, our football program with such a high event like the Shrine Bowl of the Carolinas. And it's just honor just to be associated with it and be selected.
And Coach, you've been a coach now for about 23 years. I was doing the math, a head coach for probably about 15, very successful record, won over 100 games now. Davie County has always been a very solid program throughout its history. But probably the last 10 years and 15 years, you've really elevated the program. I think you've really established yourselves as a true 4A player.
Well, I appreciate the comments there, but it's not all Doug Illing. I can promise you that. I'm just a small part of it. I've been very fortunate to have some great players come through Davie County and have the opportunity to work with them. And I've been very fortunate to have a great staff that stayed with me and has been very loyal to our school and our program here. And, you know, the combination of good players and good coaches, good work ethics, we've developed something very special here and we're mighty proud of. And I'm just a small part of it, but very honored, though, to be a part of it.
Right. Now, a lot of the coaches I've spoken with, they grow up. Everybody in North or South Carolina, they know about the Shrine Bowl. I mean, it's something they've known about their whole life. A lot of coaches were just anxious to be a part of it. You kind of have a little bit of a different perspective. The fact that you went to Summerville, one of the best high schools, maybe one of the most dominant high schools in South Carolina. Now you're going to be a part of it on the North Carolina side. Any mixed feelings about that?
Well, no, as a player playing in South Carolina, it seemed like Coach McKissick was always involved at the Shrine Bowl in some way, either with players being there or one of our coaches being on staff being there. So we knew about it and how much of a big event it was as a player. And then you get on as a coach, and you get players to go and you go and watch and, you get to experience some of that on the coaching side of it with your players. And, it's just a tremendous honor, So whether you're South Carolina or North Carolina, it doesn't matter. You're a Tar Heel or a Sandlapper. The event is still a big event. It's for a great cause, and what an honor as a player to be selected to play in it because it's the biggest event, probably on the East Coast, because of the event of doing it for the Shrine Bowl, doing it for the kids. And, to be a participant of it, as a coach, it just speaks volumes for what the program offers and the wealth that they're trying to spread throughout the communities with players and coaches. And it's just a special event altogether.
Right. Now, I failed to do the research. Have you been an East-West assistant yet?
I have. 2003, I believe I was.
Is there anything from that all-star game, obviously you're with a different set of kids for a week, that you think you can build on and maybe take with you from your experiences to the Shrine Bowl?
Well, in that event, I think we only had 44 players for that event, so he was really limited, having to get players to play both ways. I think there's 50, 53 maybe on a roster that's a little bit bigger, but, you'll have the best of the best on this roster, Shrine Bowl roster. So you're going to be working with a very talented kid. And the biggest thing is make sure they're having fun. It's a big event. We want to win. Both sides want to win. So to win, you got to prepare well. So we got to have fun practicing and have good practices, and then make sure the kids enjoy the event and make sure they enjoy the experience.
Right, right. And speaking of the kids, player selection is obviously a big task as far as being a coach. You've got combines that will be coming up throughout the spring. Being a former All-Star coach yourself, how important is it to not only pick a good roster, but just how tough will it be on a coaching staff to go through so many tapes and just so many phone calls from coaches?
Sure, it's going to be a great challenge because now you got to cover the whole state, and you got to try to get the best of the best because you want to get the best players on your team and make sure you cover the entire state and give every kid the opportunity to showcase what he's got. And that's what the Shrine Bowl combines are about, is to be able to see kids move, see what they look like, and then be able to get some film and evaluate them as juniors, what kind of player they are, and see how they've developed here in the wintertime, and see, just who they are, what they're about, and are they one of the best. And it's a great challenge to be able to do that, and it's going to be a lot of work on our staff to be able to assemble that.
Right, you're absolutely correct. Definitely a tough task. I've got one final thought. I can't leave the interview without asking. You'll have one of your arch rival schools' coaches on the same staff, Coach Snow, and even another rival coach from years back in Russell Stone. How you guys going to coexist on the same staff?
I think we'll be fine. I think we'll brush the rivalry between the two of us, or three of us, under the rug, and enjoy the coaching profession, fellowship at this event, and who knows, probably learn something from each other.
I'm sure you definitely will. Between the three of you, I mean, just years of experience and obviously a lot of wins.
Absolutely. I respect both of them. Russell's been a great coach when he was at West, and we've had some great competitions with them, and Adrian's doing a great job over there, and we're having some great games with them as well. So again, it's an honor to coach with them.
Great. Well, thanks again for speaking with us. Congratulations.
Hey, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. For Carolina Preps, I'm Chris Hughes. I'm here at West Forsyth High School with Adrian Snow, head coach of the West Forsyth Titans. Coach Snow, obviously congratulations on your selection to become an assistant coach for the Shrine Bowl next year. Just give us a little bit of your thoughts.
Well, I think I told everybody, like I said, humbling and exciting. So it's a great honor.
Right, and obviously being a North Carolina guy, tell me a little bit about your every kid grows up that plays high school football wants to be in the Shrine Bowl, and obviously every coach wants to be in there. Just maybe your thoughts on the game itself.
Well, I think I've alluded to it before that every Tuesday I go to practice. It's something I've always been wanting to be a part of. I think as a high school coach, it's one of your bucket lists. Before you get out of it, you'd love to go and be a part of Shrine Bowl as an assistant, and be cool one day to be as a head coach. But it's just a great honor, and it's just a great experience for what they're trying to do, and it's exciting.
Right. Maybe another thing that I've asked every coach, most of them have recently been an East-West All-Star coach. You were a coach on the staff last year. Being an All-Star game, you've got kids that you've not seen for a week. Maybe how can you build upon that experience and maybe take that to the Shrine Bowl?
Well, I think you see the work ethic it'll take to be successful. The time it is a time deal. You can put in a tremendous amount of time, but it's for a great cause, and no doubt that we're doing it to beat South Carolina, and that's what we're looking forward to.
Right, and just talking about the game itself and beating South Carolina. Player selection, it's a big thing. All the coaches were elated to be picked, but then they said, when it's all said and done, we got to get down to business and actually win the game. Player selection, we've got the combines that will be held in the springtime. What's your thoughts on the player selection? And do you almost have to look at it as like you're a college recruiter and you're just out looking for the best athletes?
Well, I think, using my experience with the East-West game, I think the biggest thing you got to do is make sure you get the right people, and right people for what you're trying to do. But it's also a thing of you want to get the best, I believe it's 44 in the state of North Carolina, and try to get them, put them together, and go down there and get them to be one unit in a week and then be ready to play. So it's a thing that you got to work at, but we're willing to do.
Right. And just also, before we close out, tell us a little bit about yourself. Obviously from Surrey County, just maybe about what school you went to, maybe where you went to college, and kind of what brought you into the coaching profession.
It's funny. I graduated from Surrey Central High School, went to Appalachian State. I had a crazy story. I started coaching high school football. I graduated in 1992. I started coaching football that fall. Alex Mevin got me into it. He was my high school coach, and if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be standing here today. But it was one of those things that I just basically kind of got going, and it's awesome. There's nothing like coaching high school football.
Right. And one final thought before we go. The game itself has two coaches that I know you're very familiar with. One, a bitter rival of the school and Coach Illing, and two, another guy that you coached under in Russell Stone that I know you're close with. What will it be like to have you three guys back on the same field?
Well, it's pretty cool. Me and Doug had a great conversation last night. We've had our rivalry has been a good rivalry. It's been something. Davie County, West Forsyth is a good thing. We're very close to each other in the sense of proximity, but it's a good rivalry. I think we want to beat them, no doubt, and they want to beat us, but it's fun. And then having Coach Stone to be a part of it again, or being a part of it, is exciting. There will probably be some good stories told during that week. There's no doubt about it.
Right, and just another aspect with Coach Stone, obviously you worked for him. I know he's somewhat of a mentor to your entire career. Yep. It's got to be an extra special week just to have him a part of the staff.
Oh, no doubt. To basically get to go coach with him for another week would be awesome. I mean, so we're going to get to go and have a good time. He helped me out a time in my career that I needed some help, and got me to West Forsyth, and I was an assistant here during his tenure. And then he moved on, and then Coach Petrie moved on, and I had a chance to come back. And it's a great place, and he'll tell you that right now. It's a great place. So it's exciting. It'll be exciting to be with him for another week, no doubt.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations again. Thanks for the interview. For Carolina Preps, I'm Chris Hughes. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned over the course of the next few months as we follow the progress of the Shrine Bowl through the combines and keeping up with coaches as they go through player selection. For CarolinaPreps.com, I'm Chris Hughes.